Lorenzo had always been proud of his life. A respected professor at one of Europe's top universities, he commanded the admiration of colleagues and students alike. His marriage to Elizabeth had been the envy of many, elegant, intelligent, and seemingly flawless. For 25 years, they had built a life together, living in a luxurious apartment in the heart of Florence. Their social circle was filled with powerful figures from academia, business, and politics. On the surface, their world was perfect. However, cracks had begun to form beneath the glossy exterior. Lorenzo had noticed subtle changes in Elizabeth's behavior: longer hours at the office, unexplained late nights, and new, unnamed friends. These were small details he initially brushed aside, dismissing them as part of life. But soon, the signs became impossible to ignore. One night, Lorenzo walked into their bedroom to find Elizabeth's phone face down on the bed. She was usually protective of it, never letting it out of her sight. But there it was, discarded carelessly. As he picked it up, a message flashed on the screen. "See you tonight, my love. I can't wait to feel your touch again. Jay." Lorenzo's heart sank. He knew exactly who Jay was: Julian, a colleague of Elizabeth's, someone he had always believed their relationship was purely professional. The realization hit like a punch to the gut. His wife was betraying him, and the man she had turned to was someone he had trusted. But instead of confronting her immediately, Lorenzo chose to investigate further. Over the next few months, he carefully gathered evidence, making sure he understood the full scope of her infidelity before taking any action. One day, Elizabeth mentioned meeting a friend, and Lorenzo decided to follow her. He trailed her to a hotel on the outskirts of town, where he saw her climb into Julian's car. They disappeared into the hotel, a gut-wrenching confirmation of the affair. It was the final straw for Lorenzo. His world had been turned upside down, and he knew he had to act, not out of anger, but with a plan. Rather than simply confronting Elizabeth in an outburst of rage, Lorenzo wanted to expose her for who she truly was. He meticulously prepared, gathering not only evidence of the affair but also arranging for all of her lovers and their families to attend a business conference in Rome. She had no idea that Lorenzo had invited them all, Julian with his wife, and the other lovers with their partners. Lorenzo even hired a photographer to ensure the moment was captured for posterity. On the day of the conference, Lorenzo entered the meeting hall with a bouquet of flowers in hand. He approached Elizabeth, who greeted him with a smile, oblivious to what was about to unfold. Lorenzo handed her the flowers, wished her a happy anniversary, and stood quietly as the room began to hum with whispers. One by one, the other lovers and their families appeared, each person's gaze locked on Elizabeth as her secret life was revealed in front of her colleagues, friends, and business associates. Elizabeth's smile faded as her world began to crumble. Her face turned pale, her lips trembled, and she realized she was no longer in control. Lorenzo stood in the center of the storm, watching as the woman he had loved for so long was forced to face the consequences of her betrayal. With trembling hands, Elizabeth stepped forward, begging for forgiveness, her voice breaking. "Lorenzo, please. I never meant for things to turn out this way. Just one mistake after another. I never meant to hurt you." Lorenzo's voice cut through the chaos. "If you never meant to hurt me, why did you lie to me for years? Why did you throw away everything I gave you?" The room fell silent. Elizabeth's words faltered as the truth hung heavily in the air. The damage had been done, and no apology could undo the devastation. In the days that followed, Elizabeth's reputation was shattered. Her colleagues, friends, and even her family knew the truth. The woman who had once been admired was now the subject of gossip and shame. As for Lorenzo, he felt a strange sense of calm. The anger that once consumed him had dissipated. He had achieved his goal, not through revenge, but through exposure. The truth had set him free. In the aftermath, Lorenzo began to rebuild his life. He threw himself into his work, finding solace in teaching and research. He reconnected with old friends and found new joy in his relationships with students and colleagues. Eventually, he met Maria, a former colleague who was warm, kind, and genuine, a stark contrast to the woman he had once loved. Elizabeth, on the other hand, struggled to salvage her marriage with Julian. But her attempt to repair the damage was in vain. The affair had been the catalyst for the unraveling of her marriage, and nothing could make it right. Lorenzo, however, had moved on. He was no longer shackled by the past or consumed by the pain of betrayal. He had reclaimed his life, his dignity, and his freedom. The lesson was clear. Revenge is not about destruction, but about liberation. Sometimes, letting go of the past is the most powerful act of all. Lorenzo had found peace, and in doing so, he had freed himself from the chains of his former life. If you're moved by this journey, consider subscribing to follow more stories of resilience and transformation. Let's continue to explore the power of overcoming the past together.